what type of currency do you use, and what are some of your main imports/exports?
All right. So here in Germany, belonging to Europe, we do use the euro currency, which is used widely. Like almost all countries in Europe do use the euro. So we do have this one currency that we can use pretty much everywhere, in our neighbor states at least. So going through Europe, you don't have to exchange different money. You can always use the one you have in your pocket already.
Okay.
Export. Germany is second place in the world in export. So we do have a lot of and yeah, a lot of products that we export into the world. For example, German cars. You probably heard about Mercedes or BMW. Those are all German cars made here in Germany, and that's probably the biggest export we have. But we also do export, for example, knives or services for, in different ways.
Is the food in Germany like the food that we have in America?
So what we eat over here is it's similar, definitely yes. We do have, especially in my household, we do eat quite fresh. We always try to have some vegetables to our meal. Always try to have a salad, fresh salad. But we do eat sausages, just like you probably know about Germany. They eat sausages and drink beer. We sometimes even do that. And the food here is a lot of meat. Yeah, it's quite simple.
What type of government does Germany have?
Germany has a different government to the U.S. We do not have the presidential system, so we do have a chancellor, which is in Germany. You probably have heard about her, Chancellor Merkel. She is the most powerful person in the nation. It's not the president. We also have a president, but he only comes on the media or only does things when it's concerning the international affairs and greeting people or welcoming people into Germany. That's what the president does. But all the political affairs and the government things is done by the chancellor. We also have a lot more parties, not like you guys have the two big parties that always have to get along, but we have at least 5 big ones and even more that try to get up there and try to be in the opinion making process.
What are the hobbies that are common there?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
What are the hobbies that are common?
Okay, hobbies. You probably heard about soccer. Soccer in Germany is a pretty big deal. So last year Germany won the World Championship. Therefore, soccer is a big thing. I'd say at least half of the young kids, at least the guys, want to play soccer when or dream of being a professional soccer player. That's a big deal. Even girls teams are quite famous around here, and also. So in my case, for example, I used to play handball. Handball is pretty much soccer, but played with your hands. It's a lot of fun. It's similar to basketball, but with the soccer goal. So it's very fast. It's very yeah. How do you say that? Yeah, you gotta be really fast, and endurance is pretty important. But also, like girls like to go do horseback riding or even like going shopping or to the movies. That's a big common thing around here.
What's the biggest difference between the U.S. and Germany?
Biggest difference? That's a hard question because the US and Germany are quite similar. Um, Maybe the size and the population is pretty different. Germany is a lot smaller than the USA. Maybe you could compare it to Kentucky is Germany is 3 times the size of Kentucky, but we do have 80 million people living here. Do you guys know how many people live in Kentucky?
No.
No idea. Anyone else?
I don't know.
Do you
No.
know?
How many?
Do you know?
I don't know. I didn't. But I think it's 80 million. So Germany has quite a.
4.4 million.
He knows where the best Kentuckians are.
Oh yeah, that's Somerset. That's for sure.
There's 4.4
So,
million.
sorry.
There's 4.4 million.
4.4. See, that's not much. If you think of Germany as 3 times the size of Kentucky, that would be, what, 12 million people? But we have 80 million living here. So cities are quite packed, and even the countryside is a lot more people in the countryside than the United States in general have. That may be a big difference.
Do you have a career path that you have decided on?
I actually have something in mind. I finished high school last year. I kind of traveled around the past year, but now I have to go into studying and going back to university. I am thinking about going into a social job, for example, doing some educational things, but outdoors. So if you think of like climbing or hiking, that's what I would like to kind of be a guide for it, a guide or a trainer. But that's a little way to go. It's not far in the future, but it will take me at least 3 to 5 years to get there.
What is the most common transportation in Germany?
The most common transportation would be the car, I'd say. Many people here have at least, or families have at least one car. Some eat. But after the car, there is a lot of different possibilities. You can definitely, like, there's taxi cabs pretty much everywhere. You can take buses, even in small towns. For example, the town I live in is about the size of Somerset, about 7,000 to 8,000 people. And we have a train system, small train, but it runs at least once an hour. And we also have buses and taxis. So we do have a lot of possibilities to get around. They are not always cheap or super affordable, but they will definitely get you to where you need to go.
Do you guys have some of the same customs as we do in the U.S., or are your customs completely different?
Well, I'd say they are quite similar because what I said earlier, the United States and Germany are pretty similar to each other. For example, Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, and President Obama, whenever they meet, they will give each other a handshake. Like other things like hugging or kissing is not a big thing around here. But let me think of something that you guys may not know. For example, when you go to a restaurant, it always has a sign at the door for wait to be seated. We don't do that, for example. Like when we go to a restaurant, we just pick a table and sit down ourselves and wait for the waiter to come.
Okay.
What is your education system like?
And like the school system, the early years.
Yeah.
We do have 4 years of elementary school. And after those 4 years, you have to decide on what kind of further school you want to go. You have three different possibilities for that. There is with a slightly lower kind of the expectations are not very high on that school, so that lasts for 9 years. You could also pick one of the two others, which are either 10 years or 12 years. And for example, if you plan on going to college, you have to go to school for at least 12 years. They are a little different to each other, but in the main idea and the subjects, they pretty much are the same.
How long have you lived in Germany?
I'm now 20 years old, and I've pretty much lived here all my life. I was born in the south of Germany. We now moved to the middle around Cologne quite a few years ago. I have been to Kentucky for a while, and the past year I've spent in New Zealand, but the rest of the time I've been to Germany and lived here. So it's about 19 years that I was here.
Are there any other main languages spoken in Germany other than German?
There are no other official languages, so Germany only has German as an official language, but there are languages that they are brought into the country. For example, we have quite a few Turkish people living in Germany, also a few Russians. So you may go out on the streets and hear some people, families speak their own language to each other, but the main language always stays German. In schools, you may be taught English for sure. You have to learn English in Germany, but you can also pick, if you like, you can pick from like Latin, French, sometimes Russian or Spanish, but German, the main language, yeah.
What's the main thing you would want to tell people about Germany?
Like a most important thing, why people should visit Germany. It's very, it has different landscapes. For example, in the south you see mountains and forests, and you'll have, quite a green and nice landscape. But then going further north, you will see a lot of lakes and open fields and flat land, not so many mountains. There's a lot of different things to explore around here, and what I enjoy is the food. I really like the food here. I would always come back for that. For example, like a really good bread. That's what Germany is known for, I'd say. That's probably why I always come back here.
What are some of the main religions in Germany?
The main religions will be Christians. Most of the people are Christians, but there's also a lot of Islamic people living in Germany. Not so much Buddhism, not much exotic stuff, but you will find stuff like that even in the bigger cities. But it's not too common.
Do you want us to go around and see if they have any questions right now?
Does anyone have any questions other than something that was asked? What about the drinks? You told us about a drink earlier. Could you tell us about a drink that you have that your father makes? It was like a sweet drink, things that you like to drink.
Oh, elderberry.
Yeah, I remember. That's something we do just particular in our house here. We have an elderflower bush in the garden, and every year in the spring, he goes and picks the flowers off and makes a syrup out of it. So he mixes a lot of sugar with the elderflowers and water into one bowl and lets it sit for, let's say, like 3 or 4 days. And that makes a really nice sweet taste too if you mix it with water. almost like a soda, but a little more healthy and tastes very nice.
I think she has a question.
Have you ever wanted to come to the U.S. or have you visited, and what did you think?
Yeah, I've been to Somerset before. Actually, I was a student at PC High School for 6 months in total, and I've been staying with Miss MacIver. I've had the time of my life there. I enjoyed it very much, and I keep coming back to the States because it's just a nice, yeah, nice situation being, or a nice surrounding being with all the people I've met before.
Do you want to ask your question?
What are some popular names there?
Like first names?
Sure.
Let's see. So I know a lot of Lucases. That's a very common name. Maximilian is very common. That's like two guys' names. Girls are often named Laura or maybe what else? Nadine is a very common name. But those are quite modern names. So older names may be Elizabeth or that's hard. Like Martin is my dad's name, but they